Hey, baby. I like my women with 2 hands on one wrist. And even better, with 3 or 4, they're more complicated. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Humble Horologist. This is Anthony, and please don't be offended by that opening comment that I was making, that pitch, that pickup line. But the point of this video is a little bit different because I'm not going to be talking about any particular watch. What I want to talk about is, what do you say to somebody when you want to start a conversation with them about the watch that is on their wrist? Because you know, you and I as watch fans, watch fanatics, watch nerds even, we like to talk to people. We like the conversations that we have about watches. Because believe it or not, wearing watches is something that is uncommon these days in the big scheme of things. And that's because I don't count these wrist computers from Apple and, whatever other company as watches. They call them watches, but they're not watches. They're computers. They're time-telling devices, but they're not watches. Just like a clock is not a watch. This is a clock, not a watch. But you may have to be careful with what you say. There are some things you might not want to say to somebody when you see a watch on their wrist. You might not want to go up to them and say, hey, is that a really expensive Rolex that you're wearing? Because, they might just look at you and say, criminal! But what you can say is something like, hey, nice watch. Because every time that I've done that, somebody's looked down at their own watch, looked back at me, and seen that I wasn't trying to attack them, and said, thank you. And then, what do you say? You could say something like, I like watches. I'm a big fan. What kind are you wearing? What kind is that? Because sometimes it's really hard to tell what the watch is. You just know that it looks like a decent watch. But then what do you say when they come back and it's just a fashion watch or something that you know that you would probably never wear yourself? Well, it never really is a big deal to me, because as long as they're wearing a watch, I tell them, hey, that's cool. I might show them what I'm wearing. In common courtesy, that would be the thing to do. But I would ask them, so what do you think about it? Or where'd you pick it up? Or how'd you come about it? Or what's the story behind it? Anything to have some sort of conversation about watches. Because the camaraderie, the friendship is amazing. Years ago, not too many years ago, it was just a couple of years ago, I went on a trip to Pakistan. I was by myself, and I was sitting looking for a seat in the airport in Qatar, or Qatar, however you want to pronounce it. There was one place next to the window, and I'll show you a picture of it here in a second. And sitting there were 2 imams, 2 Muslim imams. Now, please don't take offense to this, because I'm not trying to be offensive, but imagine my circumstance. I am a Christian minister in a Muslim country, and the only place to sit was next to 2 Muslim imams in full garb. Most people, I think, in my position, would feel a little bit awkward just walking up and starting a conversation out of the blue. But what did I see? I saw some bling on the wrist. And as I walked over in that direction, I looked down and I said, nice watch. And he looked up at me. Thank you, he said. Then began the conversation. I said, do you mind if I have a seat? And he says, absolutely not. Go right ahead. Because he was English, he was on his way home with his other friend there and another man that showed up later, another imam, and they were heading back to England because they had been on a Hajj to Saudi Arabia. And so here, two different cultures, two different major religions, sit down together, and what do we talk about? Watches. And that's the way it is on the internet. That's the way it is on this channel. That's the way it is over Facebook. It's amazing the conversations. It's amazing the friendships between people that in most any other case, it seems, would probably not have much to do with each other, sadly. And so in this case, as I sat down and we talked about his watch that he was wearing, I talked about the watch that I was wearing. I believe I was wearing a Vaer, V-A-E-R, and he was wearing, I think it was an Invicta, but no judgment. And because when he showed me what he had just purchased, he pulled a box out of the bag, opened it up, and guess what it was? It was a diamond encrusted Invicta. And what did I say? Beautiful watch. And we talked for a few minutes. He said, yes. He said, I saw it and I couldn't help but get it because, duty free there at the airport. And he was so proud, and I was happy for him. And then we parted our ways when it come time for me to get on my airplane. I said, nice to meet you. He said, nice to meet you. And that was the end of it. And here's a picture I took, a selfie of me and the two gentlemen. What type of experiences have you had? What do you say when you meet somebody with a watch? Do you say, hello, nice watch? Do you say, hey, what kind of watch are you wearing? Is there an awkward way to approach it, or you just get so excited that just you blurt out whatever comes, to mind? Well, let me know what you think. Leave something in the comments as to how you have started some conversations and maybe how you have come up with a way to talk to somebody out of the blue. Or if you don't know anything in particular, there's no way that you do it on a regular basis and you just like to tell a story maybe, go ahead and do that, because we'd love to hear your stories too. So until the next time, I hope that you do meet some more people, start some friendships, have a good conversation every now and then about watches. And remember, watches are replaceable though, but time is not. Have a good week.
Do your best hula. Go, Lucy, do your best hula. You gonna twirl? Good job, everybody.